I'm like, why is nobody buying my shit? I'm like, what am I doing wrong?
Welcome to another episode of Chewing the Fat. I'm your host, Big Rob. Thank you so much for tuning in, downloading, following the podcast. I really do appreciate that. Also want to say a big shout out to Addison. Thank you so much for buying me the coffees at chewingthefatvr.com. I really appreciate your support of the podcast. I am so excited about my guest today. It's a guy I've known for just about as long as I've been podcasting. So we were part of kind of this inner circle incubator mastermind group. So please welcome my friend Danny DelVecchio. Danny, what's up?
What's up, Rob? Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be here.
Thank you for being here, man. This is I've been looking forward to this since we planned it a few weeks back and all, and getting everything lined up here. It's so good to first of all see your face again. I hadn't seen you in a little while. Everybody's been kind of doing their own podcasting things and their own social media things. Your background is in sales, and you are doing some amazing sales coaching on Instagram. So kudos to you for finding that niche and just really killing it, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It was an interesting road from where I started to where I am. Mm-hmm. Especially it started in the group that we were in together, yeah. Right? So it's especially good to be hanging out with you on a Thursday night because that's what we used to do, right?
Yeah. This is the normal time, man. This is the normal time to hang out on Thursday nights. I came to the group as somebody is scared to press the record button to start a podcast. You already actually had a different podcast going, completely different subject, and everything like that. And I guess you're looking to grow that podcast, and you kind of found a different passion. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. So, first off, experienced podcaster for sure. Because I started podcasting in, I think it was 2016.
Wow.
And yeah, I think I was an early adopter of podcasting, I guess. Right. Mm-hmm. So I started just like BSing with my friends with a friend of mine about TV and movies. And then I was like, you know what? I want to take this podcasting thing a little bit further. I want to do something different. I want to do something more interesting. So I was like my favorite show at the time was this TV show, Impractical Jokers. You familiar with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I just liked it. 4 guys from Staten Island, like middle-aged, and they just kind of made it big at that point. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and I just think they're really funny. So I was like, every TV show at the time has a podcast. So it was like Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad and all these shows have like 50, 100 podcasts about them. Impractical Jokers had 0 podcasts about it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to create one.
Yeah. And,
I never anticipated what it was going to be. But about 60 episodes, 350,000 downloads.
Wow.
And actually had one of the Impractical Jokers on my show. And that was probably one of the coolest moments ever.
That's amazing. That is amazing. That is so cool. Yeah. When you take a passion like that and like, hey, I'm going to expand on this in a fun way. Obviously you were having a great time doing it. And then for it to kind of take off like that, that's amazing, man. And you're up in that area, right? You're in Long Island, right?
Yes, sir. So
that's kind of where those guys are from, right?
Yeah, they're from Staten Island, which is, I'm less than an hour from where they grew up.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was interesting because basically the long story short, I stopped the podcast because I got this big fancy job and I was doing a lot of traveling and my co-host quit on me at the same time. And I tried to keep it going on my own and try to get a guest every week and it just didn't work out. So I ended up stopping that show. And I guess it was, around this time last year, really, that I had started a new podcast that I was trying to get going. And obviously that's when I decided to join the podcast mastermind group that we were both a part of. Mm-hmm. And ultimately what happened with that podcast was it sort of went in a direction that I never intended for it to go. Mm-hmm. And I kind of got a little bit frustrated with it. And we had this amazing coach in that podcast group who gave me the direction of, hey, Danny, stop doing a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of, you would think that's bad advice for a podcast coach to tell someone that wants to be a podcaster, just stop doing the podcast.
It's like, Danny, stop the podcast. And he goes, you obviously have something else that you are passionate about, and you have a opportunity to grow a business. He's like, start building the business and then do the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was his advice. And since that advice, I have started a business, and it has significantly grown month over month over month from the 6-7 months ago that I started it.
Yeah. Is it gotten to the point where it can be the full-time thing? Is that the goal? First of all, that's not the goal to be the full-time thing.
It is. It's the ultimate goal, I guess, for sure. Yeah. And it's within striking distance at this point. Like it's the first time that I can actually visualize it. Like that I'm getting close enough to where it is potentially within reach. So, that's awesome. Couple things that are going on. There's just like, when you put yourself out there and you start doing things and you start connecting with people, good shit starts to happen and opportunities present themselves. And I am in the middle of growing like a few different things. And, ultimately I think obviously that is the end goal, and it's closer than I would have thought.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And to think that came from someone telling you to stop doing something, you know what I mean? That's true wisdom there to be able to see. And I mean, shout out to Travis Brown, he's still a very good friend and mentor to me. I would assume probably to you as well. It's, that takes more than just, plug in, tab A into slot B, blah, 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 because there are so many people out there that want to coach people and want to tell them, oh, how you do this. And they just kind of churn and burn the same info to everybody. But to be able to really analyze what somebody's got going on. And I think one of his greatest, skills, not to gush on Travis here, but is to really recognize, what the heart of a person is and where their passion truly lies,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been cool because, obviously after the group disbanded, I stuck with Travis. So I still work with Travis. I meet with him once a week, and, he started out as my podcast coach and has really turned into a business coach.
That's awesome.
Which has been very cool. And I don't think that he obviously intended for it to be that way. I think it just evolved that way. Mm-hmm. But we've also become great friends over that period of time too. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
absolutely. So what is what's the business? What's, and you say you're about to start another podcast. So tell everybody what's going on.
Yeah. Got it. So basically what I have 18 years of experience in sales. And all in corporate America. Started at the bottom, working as a sales rep in Radio Shack, and worked my way through the ranks into AT&T. And I spent 7 years working at AT&T. And then I worked for a big AT&T affiliate company, and I ran a pretty large sales team. I ran a team of 7 sales managers, 50 sales reps. Wow. And I was part of a small team that really built a division. And we grew this division from 8 people. When I started, we had 8 people. Mm-hmm. In 3 years, we grew it to 150.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was crazy. It was an amazing time, but it was also a lot. It got to be a lot. I was covering from New England down to Florida. I was traveling 3 out of 4 weeks every month, leaving my wife and my son at home. for at least for a few days, almost every week. And it got to be a lot. And ultimately what ended up happening was the company ended up getting acquired. And, at that juncture, me and some of the other people that had grown that division, we decided to try to make it our own company. I wasn't really as active in that. I just decided to go work there with them. And it just didn't work out for me. It wasn't the same as it was prior. And, ultimately I at that point was like when I said, you know what, I want to start a side hustle. I want to start a new podcast and then kind of build a side hustle around that podcast. And then, as I started conversing with mentors and sharing some of the things in my past that I was good at, I learned about this whole online coaching world, that I could actually go out and find people online and share my expertise and experience with them, and they could pay me for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's amazing. Cause that was my favorite part about being a sales manager, was coaching my team, right? That was the best part of being in that role. And when I got that, when that company got acquired and I went to work at the other company, I kind of went backwards because I wasn't managing and coaching anymore. I was just doing direct sales myself.
Yeah.
So I was kind of missing that favorite part of what I did at the job previously.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait, hold on. So I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
And basically, I just started telling people what I was doing. I said, I'm starting this coaching business. I started to create content on Instagram, and I was able to land a couple of clients pretty early on, all from people that I knew, people that were in my network. And I brought them on early, and throughout the time, I've been with them, I've been with both of those clients for about 6 months. And then, I started to put out some more content. I started to do some more promotional things. I started to do some more networking. And, now I'm bringing on a couple of new clients every month into this coaching program.
That's awesome.
And and in this time also, I've become quite the content creator, right? So I had always enjoyed the podcast medium. But now I am, happy to be in front of the camera, doing short form video, doing long, form live streaming, being, active on social media. So I've really kind of grown in that whole space over the last, 6 months here, and I've become very comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting, and and that's why I'm obviously I'm continuing that. I'm starting my own podcast now, which goes along with my business. Yeah. So I have I started this. Actually, it's funny. I should kind of go backwards a little bit. So right when I start at the beginning of when I started on Instagram, when Travis said, drop the podcast and go to Instagram, I started basically doing a podcast on Instagram Live for small business owners. I called it Small Biz Savvy Live. And I would bring on business owners or entrepreneurs that had some value to bring to the small business community. And I would do it about once a week, and I would talk to different people. And that's how I made a lot of connections. And that was one of the things that helped me to build my following and to grow my brand on Instagram, was Small Biz Savvy Live. And I always had the intention of, hey, this is something that could potentially turn into a podcast at one point. So now that's what I'm doing. I'm taking that live streaming series that I do, and repurposing it as a podcast, and going to start putting it out here, probably within the next, I would say probably the next 60 days, because I got a lot going on. I'm moving. So I wanted to try to get it out here now, but I haven't had the opportunity to as of yet.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's awesome that you're able to, make those connections and the networking, and kind of every person leads into another opportunity, and being able to take the content that you already have, put it out in a different format so that it's still valuable. It retains that that value for somebody else to find it. Because that's the thing, is you don't know who's going to stumble across that. Obviously, when you do an Instagram live, it's gone. You know what I mean? You could put it in your little favorites or your features or whatever. But in most cases, it's like, if you're not there, you can't ask the question. You can't get that instant response, but you're able to take that content and put it out so somebody can digest it and still find you and still like contact you and be like, hey, I like what you said in this thing. I want to know more. How can I get on board with what you've got going on? I think that's amazing, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it's, it's just another, like, to add a podcast, to the mix is just another way for me to interact with people that are already in my community, to bring new people into my community. And, just another place to showcase my abilities and what I can do, but also to have some fun doing it too. And that's the whole thing with a podcast is I do a podcast because it was fun, right? Like, the whole idea was like, let's do something that makes me money that I actually enjoy doing as well. Yeah. And, that's why the podcast was like central in that thing. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I tried to build the income and the business around the podcast, but I needed to build the business first and then get a podcast that complemented it. Yeah. And that's what Travis brought out of me.
Yeah. That's awesome. And and that's one of the great things about having a good mentor or a coach, like I said, that can see those things. I'm sure you do the very same thing for your clients, and being able to say, hey, this is going to be a better use of your time or your money or whatever to do this, because in the long run, it's going to bring you so much more satisfaction, rewards, fun, money, in the long run, for sure.
Right. And it's the same thing with my clients too, is like, the whole idea is, or my mission, so to speak, is to help people to make money doing something that they really enjoy doing. Yeah. Right. And that's why I love some of the creative stuff like podcasts and YouTube and, social media, and like, the ability to obviously, sit down and have a conversation like this, and use that to promote your business or whatever it is. Right. So I really, want to help people to do that same thing, achieve that same thing. And one of the things that I've done is actually started my own mastermind group. Nice. And so I have two groups. I have a morning and an afternoon group, or a morning and an evening group. I got a day crew and a night crew, just like we had over there. Yeah. I got about 15 people in it right now. And that's what I'm doing, is like, I'm just helping them navigate the digital space and the digital world, and how to do things that are fun and are creative, but also use them to promote their business at the same time.
Yeah. That is so cool, Danny. That is so cool. I'm over the moon proud of you and the progress you've made from like I said, about a year ago when we first got introduced, and you it seemed like, week after week you were struggling. You're like, what do I do this? What do I do this? Oh, maybe I'll change it to this. Maybe, I'm so glad that you found your calling and what is really lighting you up. I mean, you're just like smiles from ear to ear. So I know you're loving what you're doing, man.
Yeah, and it almost took a little bit of a rough turn there for a second. I was ready to go all in, and I was like, and I pulled back, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned that you're getting ready to move. Is that thanks in part to what you're doing and what you're going? You're able to kind of go somewhere else, and I'm assuming that means that you're able, like you said, you're able to leave that old world, regular 9-to-5 behind.
Yeah. So, I did, I obviously I got a lot. I have two sons and a mortgage and everything like that too. So, needed to make sure that I have health insurance and all that. Yeah. And I still, so I still needed a 9-to-5 job to kind of, to get me through the next year or so, right?
Yeah.
And potentially longer depending on how it goes there, right?
Yeah.
But I was with one company, and I was trying to actually get a transfer to a remote position or a similar position in South Carolina. But for some reason, I was just not having any luck. Either I would interview for things and I wouldn't get them, or I would get, an offer for something and it was like half the money that I was making. So I couldn't pull it off internally. And luckily I had a good friend who is actually running a sales team, actually used to work for me at that company where I ran the sales team. So he started running a sales team for another organization in a similar industry to what we used to do. And he was like, hey, you know what? I got a spot for you as a sales rep over here. So I'm doing that. That's my 9 to 5 right now. I'm building the coaching business, and, that's fully remote. So I still have my job security and my benefits and everything, as we take the move over to South Carolina.
That's awesome. And, but that's so smart. Because like you said, especially when you've got little kids, and if you have a spouse that doesn't have insurance or something like that, that it's not just about the dollar sign, that's going into the bank. It's like how much is going out of the bank as well. And if you have something like that you don't have to pay an exorbitant amount for, because it's part of, your benefits package with your, a remote job or something, I think that's great. And do you think I feel like it is, but like the ability to work remote now, especially after the pandemic, and I think that opened up a lot of people's eyes to the ability to do good work, but do it in a space that they're more comfortable in, whether it be in a different town or different state or even country for some people. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You feel like that's what may have played a part in that for you as well, to like say, hey, let me stay at home with you guys in here, but let's go somewhere else.
Yeah, no, it definitely helps, right? The opportunities that you have now to, to have remote positions and quality work that you don't need to leave your home for, is great. And it's tough too, because right now my wife isn't working either. So, we only have the one income, where we got the 2 kids, we got the mortgage. We're in Long Island, where I pay $10,000+ a year in property taxes. Yeah, my property taxes are $11,000 a year. So,
oh my gosh,
I'm very excited to head to South Carolina and never have to worry about that ever again.
Wow. I was gonna say, I'm in South Carolina. I'm here, and I think I pay like $1,200 a year, maybe $2,000 at the very most.
That's my understanding. So, I spoke to a lot of people, and everybody's like, it's a couple grand for your property taxes a year. And I'm just like you talk about taking it and cutting it to like 20% of what I was, less than 20% of what I was paying before. So that sounds like, that sounds perfect to me.
I mean, that's almost like getting the $10,000 raise right there. I mean,
it sort of is. Yeah, it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a different cost of living, here. And just like all the prices in Long Island are jacked up.
Yeah.
The gas is more expensive here. The food is more expensive here. Just going out to a movie or to a, bowling or something like that. Everything, all the prices in Long Island are jacked up because I think next to San Francisco, it's the most expensive place in the country to live.
Wow. Well,
but I grew up here. I grew up here,
mm-hmm.
and I'm 39 and I've never left.
Wow.
Other than, I did a few semesters in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited though, because now it's a new adventure.
Yeah, for sure.
Time.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Man. That's so cool. So when you're, I'm going to say when you have free time, I don't know that you actually have any, but I mean, when you're not coaching and you're not spending time with the family and you're not doing the 9 to 5 thing, is there something that you're really passionate about outside of what would be considered work?
So right now, No, but what I'm lucky for is that some of the things that I do for work are the passion.
That's
right.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, doing, something like a podcast or just filming a real video.
Yeah.
That's like stuff that I do for fun. That's awesome. Like things that I would do for fun. Right. Yeah. And so, and obviously, I have some friends and I like to, go out and connect with friends and things like that. But luckily enough, I used to watch a lot of TV, and I basically, I can't get through it. I get through maybe 15, 20 minutes of a TV show per day at this point, which is basically the last 15 minutes of my day. I pop it on the TV and I pass out to it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So, and I used to watch a couple hours of TV like every day, and I was real into TV shows and films and all that.
Yeah.
But now it's just like I'm doing things that are more productive and also enjoying it at the same time.
That's so good. That's so good. Well, what would be, if, for Coach Danny D's, like 2 hot takeaway tips for like young entrepreneurs that are wanting to start something? What advice would you give somebody?
Okay. So number one is, and you went through the same thing where, you talked about just press the button.
Yeah.
Just start.
Yeah.
Just get started. There is no perfect time. There is no perfect situation.
Yeah.
Just start. Mm-hmm. There is somebody that you can help who knows less than you do.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you don't need to be the foremost expert to teach somebody. All you need to know is more than they do and help them get to where they need to go, or help them get to where you are. So if you want to do something, dive right in, figure out how to do it. That's number one. And then number two is everything is an experiment. You are going to try different things, and some things are going to work and some things aren't. And when they don't work, you're going to get frustrated. But when they do work, you're going to feel great. And that completely outweighs the frustration. So just try new things, experiment, try whatever you possibly can. And ultimately you'll find what works. And when you do find that, keep doing it.
All right, Danny, this is the second part of the show. This is where we dive a little bit deeper. We talk a little bit more about mental health. I think it's very important that we recognize as humans, we all kind of go through down days, sad days, whether it's diagnosed depression or anxiety. But we're not alone. Like I said, everybody kind of has those days. Everybody goes through it. And for you, how do you keep that darkness at bay?
It's about having a support system, right? And, obviously, I have my family, right? So I have my wife, but my kids, really, like my kids are my support system, because every time I get super frustrated with something that's going on, all I need to do is go upstairs, and my office is in the basement. So all I need to do is go upstairs and take a look at their smiling faces. And that reminds me that, like, that's all that matters. All this other shit that I'm frustrated with and I'm failing or whatever it is nothing compared to just making sure that those two little boys are taken care of and are happy. So, just being able to, and that's also the beauty of working from home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like I said, all I got to do is run upstairs and see those smiles and get the data.
Yeah.
And it's all good. It's all gone. So that's number one. And then just having mentors. And I've been fortunate enough actually to have found a couple of amazing mentors over the last couple of years. Obviously Travis being one of them. And a friend, Adam, who I met a couple years ago. I met him in a virtual networking group. During the pandemic. We started to connect, and him and I have become friends over the last 2 years. He has become an amazing mentor to me. He is a super successful entrepreneur, business owner, and now we're business partners too. We have a business venture that we are working on together as well. So, and that's, I sort of said it before, like when you put yourself out there, the universe tends to help you find the right people or help point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And it has connected me with some people who have made some amazing impact in my life and are definitely support people that are part of that support system that I'm talking about here. So that's the key.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you think, as a now entrepreneur yourself, dealing with things like imposter syndrome or how the hell am I going to pay bills? How am I going to, nobody's signing up for this class. What does it take for you for that mental fortitude to keep pressing on?
Kind of goes back to something that I was saying where like everything is an experiment, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that when something fails, that something else is going to work. And you know what? It seems like when you have like the worst times, like, and this was recently, just even a couple of weeks ago, I was like, nobody's buying my shit. Like nobody is buying my shit. What the hell is happening? And then literally a week later, I sold a program, then I sold another one, and then I sold another one. So I sold 3, significant high ticket programs back to back to back. After I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, why is nobody buying my shit? I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, and again, it was those mentors that were like, hey man, slow your roll here. Right. They're the one that put me back into that mindset. Like, hey, you're going to go through these tough times. Don't freak out. Don't change everything. Don't lower your price. Don't, just relax, calm down, take a break.
Yeah.
Get through it. And let's figure out what's the better way to approach this and what's the better way to move on. Right.
Yeah.
So, going back to that support system is huge. But also just having the mindset to know that like things are going to fail and that's okay. It's okay that things fail. Yeah. Because you're going to do something else that's going to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's huge. Even if you look at like, what do they say? Edison created 999 light bulbs. It didn't work. It only took that one to light up the world. It's not letting the failures define you, I think, that don't be defined by the failures, be defined by the ability to get back up from a failure and to keep going.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know what, another thing that I think that's really helped me is that I don't hold back. I share the failure. I go out on social media and be like, I tried to do this and it completely failed. And here's why. And you know what? People are like, oh, you know what? Not a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people, like people always want to show you the good. People always want to show you what's going on when things are good, but people don't necessarily want to show you what's going on when things are bad.
Yeah.
And I have no problem getting out there and being like, look, I completely screwed this thing up or whatever it was. Here's why I freaked out. Here's why. And I don't know, like I'm having trouble articulating this. I guess I'm just not afraid to go out and like share the failure. And because of that, it helps the authenticity, and people are attracted to me partly because of the fact that I don't just show them, all the glitz and glam. I show them what's really happening.
Yeah, no, I totally can understand that. The transparency of the process. They're like, hey, I'm not just going to show you the highlight reel, because there's enough highlight reels on social media already where people are like, sitting in their Lamborghinis, fanning themselves with, $1,000 bills or whatever. It's like, okay, great. How did you get there? That's what everybody wants to know. How did you get there? How many times did you fail? Well, of course, most of the time, those guys, they rented the car and it's a bunch of stage money, but but being authentic, being transparent with the process and bringing other people along with you to say, hey, I'm going to try this thing. I want you to be along with me for this ride to see how this goes. And if it fails, we can all learn from it.
Right. And that's the other thing too. Like I think that other people, like I said, when other people are watching and all they see is the flashy stuff and all the good stuff, and they're going through this tough time, like when they see that other people are going like through that tough time as well, it could help elevate and motivate and inspire people and stop people from quitting. And if I could stop one person from quitting by doing something like that, then I'll do it all day.
All right, Danny, this is the third segment of the show. This time now for the Fast Five. Fast Five. It's time now for the Fast Five. Fast Five. Fast Five. Thank you. I'm still working on a theme song.
I love it every time, and now I get to experience it in person. I love it.
Still working on it though. I mean, I think I'm gonna have my music guy on sometime. We'll see if we can actually get some music for that thing. Fast Five is powered by Poddex, app created by our friend Travis Brown. It's great for podcasters, interview questions. They're great icebreakers as well. I always suggest folks get some of the physical decks and just keep a few cards in your wallet or in your back pocket and just ask weird questions to people. If you're uncomfortable, make them uncomfortable with a weird question. So if you want to get some Poddex, if you go to chewinthefatbr.com/Poddex and use the promo code CHEW, you can get 10% off of your physical decks. But no wrong answers. First thing comes to the top of your mind. All right, you ready to go?
Let's do this. Fast Five.
Which actor made the best Batman?
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna agree with you on that one. Yeah, I love Keaton. And, he may not have been like I think he was the best Bruce Wayne and Batman.
He was by far the best Bruce Wayne. Nobody could touch him. And I don't know. There's just there's something about like the fact that he's not the obvious choice. Like he wasn't the obvious choice to be Batman.
Yeah. That's awesome. Question number 2. Is cereal soup? Why or why not?
No, because you can eat cereal without liquid.
You can eat cereal without liquid. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, so you're just doing a dry bowl there. But I mean, if you put the milk in it, is it soup now?
No. I don't think it qualifies as a soup.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you? You think so?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I can understand that because I mean there are cold soups that are out there. So if if you go with like a vichyssoise, something like that, it's cold soup. And there's also like sweet bisques and stuff like that. I've been on a cruise and they have like a lovely peach bisque. So if it's the sweet aspect, it's like it's a bisque. It's still considered kind of a soup. So I mean, I can see that, but I don't know. Cereal's cereal to me.
Yeah, me too.
All right, question number 3. What kind of shower ideas do you get?
Oh, the best ideas, content. Best content ideas come in the shower.
Yeah. I had a friend when I was working in radio, and they said, your best ideas come into 3 B's: bedrooms, bathrooms, and bar rooms. And and that's 100% right though, because that's
amazing.
I think part of that is because in pretty much most of those places you're relaxed. You're not really concentrating on something. You're just letting like life happen. You open yourself up to experience or whatever. So that's awesome. So what's the last piece of content you came up with in the shower?
Oh God, I can't even remember now. Let's see. I was like, yes, I want to do 10 sales questions because people are always constantly asking me like, what questions did they ask on a discovery call? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a single post with 10 questions And I just came up with questions. I knew I had the questions lists. I have a big list.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick 10 and put them out there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Question number 4. If you could learn any language fluently, what would it be?
Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I wish I would have taken Spanish in high school. I took Italian. There's just such a use case for Spanish. You know what I mean?
True.
I got some friends that speak Spanish. When I worked in one of the stores that I worked in, there was a bunch of guys that spoke Spanish, and I always felt like I was missing out. They'd all be cracking up and having a good old time, and I'm like, man, I don't even know. I have no idea what you guys are saying. Come on,
right? Let me in on the joke. I want to be in. Yeah.
The only thing I know to do in Spanish is curse, because they all taught me how to curse in Spanish because they thought it was funny.
All right, and question number 5. What was the first car you ever owned?
Toyota. Oh man, it wasn't a Corolla. It wasn't a Cam. A Toyota Cressida.
Ooh, a Cressida. Fancy.
They don't even make them anymore. It was passed down to me from my grandma.
That's awesome. What color was it?
It was like a silvery color, but it didn't last very long. I only had it for a couple months because the brakes were not good. And then I got a Toyota Camry after that.
Nice. It's funny. My first car was a Toyota as well. It was a Toyota Corolla, like hatchback station wagon-y thing, and it was just
nice,
white, had that weird blue pleather interior. And it was passed down to me by my aunt. I want to say that car was like an 81 or something. It only had one speaker for the radio, and there was no tape deck or anything. It was just a AM FM radio, and it only had one speaker, and it was underneath like the steering column or something. But I drove the hell out of that thing. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. My dad had like a Toyota station wagon. I remember too. And it was, and it had a third row in the back, and you faced out the back. And I remember like going and sitting back there with my friends or with my brother and stuff like that. That's, and my dad had that car for probably 25 years or something. He milked it for all it was worth.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I was the one that everybody wanted to take I was the one that picked up everybody to go to school. And so as soon as I got a car, there was no bus anymore. It's like, all right, we're going to ride for Rob. And I would go around and pick everybody up, and they'd be piled up in the back of the station. Yeah, it was awesome. No, I love that thing.
Amazing.
All right, Danny, that's it. That's our Fast Five. And that is the show. Thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate this.
No, Rob, I'm so glad when you reached out to me, I was like, man, I've been waiting to be on this one. As far as your episodes go, right? We didn't get it in this episode because I didn't bring it out in you, and maybe in the future I will bring it out in you, is when we get the real Southern Rob going, right? And my favorite one was with your mom, right? Because it was like, okay, now I see where Southern Rob comes from. Oh,
Well, man, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your friendship and being here and opening up. I do appreciate that, and I'm so looking forward to everything that you do have coming up in your life, with your move, with the podcast, with Coach Danny D. As a matter of fact, if folks want to keep up with you, how can they do that?
Okay, so the best place that you can keep up with me is Instagram. So on Instagram, I am at Coach D Sales. That's Coach D Sales. And then you can also find me on my website, which is CoachDannyD.com.
That's awesome. And of course, you can find those links in the show notes as well as on the guest page on chewingthefatbr.com. One more time, Danny, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you being here, and just send you all the love and luck for the future, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Next time we'll do this one in person.
Absolutely. When you get down to South Carolina, you better believe that.
All right. Love it.
And if you would like to support this podcast, please consider buying me a coffee at chewingthefatbr.com. Also on there, you can check out the shop. Got some t-shirts and journals and things like that. I'd appreciate that. It helps keep the podcast rolling. But until next time, I look forward to when we have a moment to sit a spell and chew the fat.